Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the regularly scheduled meeting of the Board of Public Works for today, Wednesday, June 5th, 2019.
Commissioners Garcia, Cabello, James, Davis, and Caloza are present. President James, you do have a quorum. May we start with Bureau introductions, please, starting with the Bureau of Street Lighting. If you could come up to the mic and just introduce yourself.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Janet Kwan with the Bureau of Street Lighting. For items number 1 through 11.
Just the introduction.
One moment, just intros.
Just the introduction.
Janet Kwan with the Bureau of Street Lighting.
Right.
That's it. Thank you.
Great.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good morning, Robert Vega, Bureau of Engineering.
Good morning, Seffi Wiles, Bureau of Contract Administration.
Good morning, Tim Tyson, Bureau of Streets, LA.
Good morning, Dov LaSalle, Assistant City Attorney.
Fernando Campos, Executive Officer. President James, we did receive 2 speaker cards under general public comment. We have no commentary under the Neighborhood Council comment section. We did receive speaker cards on all the items for today's agenda.
Okay. Let's go to agenda item number 16, street closure at Brenhurst Avenue between 67th Street and 71st Street, Los Angeles Metropolitan Transportation Authority, Crenshaw, Los Angeles International Airport Transit Corridor Project, recommending that the board find that the Board of Public Works has reviewed and considered the information in the project draft environmental impact statement, environmental impact report. We'll call that the EIR transmittal number 1, and the final EIS-EIR transmittal number 2. Secondly, find under the California Public Resources Code, Section 21166, and the California Environmental Quality Act, CEQA Guidelines, Section 15162, on the basis of substantial evidence contained in the whole record, that since certification of the EIR, there have been no changes with respect to the circumstances under which the temporary street closure being undertaken would require a subsequent EIR or supplemental EIR. Third, adopt the October 2011 Mitigation Monitoring and Reporting Program, transmittal number 3, prepared by Metro as it pertains to construction impacts. Number 4, find under CEQA Guidelines Section 15091 that changes have been incorporated into the project would substantially lessen the significant environmental effects as identified in the EIR. Further, find that there is no feasible alternative or additional feasible mitigation measures within the board's powers that would substantially lessen any significant effect the project would have on the environment. Number 5, adopt the attached CEQA findings of fact and statement of overriding considerations, that's transmittal number 4, as it pertains to the temporary street closure, and find that the economic, social, technological, and other benefits of the project outweigh its significant and unavoidable impacts. Number 6, specify that the Metro Transit Division of the Bureau of Engineering located at 1149 South Broadway, the board located at 200 North Spring Street, and other relevant City of Los Angeles departments are custodians of the documents or other material which constitute the record of the proceedings upon which the board's decision is based. 7, approve the request to temporarily close Brenhurst Avenue between 67th Street and 71st Street for 7 days, starting Friday, June 21st, 2019 at 9 a.m. That's 2 weeks from this Friday, and ending Friday, June 28th, 2019 at 6 a.m. Subject to the conditions identified within the report as requested by the Metro Chief Executive Officer, Philip Washington, to Mayor Garcetti in a letter dated May 22nd, 2019. That's transmittal number 5. 8, approve the peak hour exemption request, transmittal number 6, on Brenhurst Avenue between 67th Street and 71st Street to allow construction work during weekday morning peak hours at 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. and weekday afternoon peak hours 3:30 p.m. to 7 p.m. starting Friday, June 21, 2019 and ending Friday, June 28, 2019, subject to the conditions identified within the report. Mr. Herman, you have a card in on number 16. Number 16.
Is that in Mr. Harrison Dawson's district, CD8? So we're talking about improvements. Well, before we go to that route, let's talk about the rules of decorum when it comes to the authority of this legislative body when it comes to CD8 and the vicinity between 67th Street and 71st Street. As a rules of decorum enforcement, you have violated my First Amendment because they contain provisions which constitute impermissible prior restraints on speech. Unfortunately, Mr. Attorney, you know that my speech is well welcome under 42 U.S.C. 1983. For the record, thank you, Patricia H. Copps, C-O-P-S, 11111 Moss Courthouse. Thank you. So the terms are vague and lack adequate standards or guidelines for the enforcement for these recommendations of the board in which I, in opposition of, sir, city officials have unbridled discretion to enforce these rules, to suppress my free speech, hinder public speakers in free speech who engage in this environment, creating a hostile environment towards the public by TRO and the TMU under strategic lawsuits against the public, which I find offensive. So herein, as directed towards intimidating any of us here at the podium as a legislative body from the lawful exercise of constitutional right, and your failure to interact on the laws and rules give reasonable notice activities subject to criminal penalties. Did you hear that? Criminal penalties. FBI, Jose Luis Huizar, fuck you.
Mr. Spindler has a card in on number 16. Mr. Spindler. Mr. Sachs, you have a card in on number 16.
Yes, thank you. Good morning. Arnold Sachs. This is very interesting. So you have an MOU, or this is the Metropolitan Transportation Authority. I thought they had a nonprofit to oversee this Crenshaw line construction. As a matter of fact, I know they had a nonprofit. They created a nonprofit and not a construction committee like the Gold Line and the Expo Line. They had a construction authority, but this particular Crenshaw line, as a matter of fact, it was surprising because they wanted to have a Green Line construction authority to head north from the air, from aviation, and yet they had no construction authority to bring the Crenshaw line back to aviation. That being said, on the street closure part, Mr. James, that you read, it starts June 21st at 9 a.m. That's number 7. But number 8 says you want to have peak hour construction starting at 6 a.m. So if it starts at 6 a.m. on June 21st, then the peak hour construction oversteps the start of construction at 9 a.m. And then the closure here says Friday, June 28th at 6 a.m. Well, that would mean there'd be no construction on Friday. But then you have peak hours construction to 7 p.m. on Friday. So which one is it exactly? Because you have 2 train tracks going in different directions, and maybe the people who live on Havenhurst might want to know exactly when the street will be closed and when the street will be open. Because if it's 6 a.m. on that Friday, then of course there is there's construction until 6 a.m. That means they're working at night. Will they be working at night? Will people have the opportunity to know about that? Are they being notified that the street's being closed? These are technical questions that are much more important than somebody collecting $100 for their Brown Act violations.
Thank you, Mr. Sachs. Mr. Hsu.
Good morning. I'm Larry Hsu from the Bureau of Engineering, Metro Transit Division. The board report before you is in regards to the Crenshaw LAX Transit Corridor Project. This is an 8.5-mile transit line that will be connecting the Expo line at the Expo Crenshaw station to the Green Line at the aviation station near LAX. Metro and its contractor, Walsh Corridor Constructors, are requesting to implement a full street closure on a residential street, Brynhurst Avenue, between 67th and 71st Street for 7 days from June 21st, 2019 to June 28th, 2019. This street closure is being requested for the contractor's convenience to facilitate street restoration following the construction of an at-grade rail crossing. As part of the board's consideration of this closure, we have included a count of correction items that the Bureau of Contract Administration has identified. 457 correction items were communicated to Metro and Walshe in March of 2018. During the past 2 months, some progress has been made against these correction items, and as of the writing of this report, 111 of the items have been completed and accepted by BCA. 346 items remain. Chris Cox from the Bureau of Contract Administration will be able to provide an update as to the status of these correction items. He's here today. In a letter dated May 22nd, 2019, Metro CEO Philip A. Washington has committed to address any deficient work resulting from the construction of the project by the revenue service date, currently anticipated to be in the spring of 2020. LADOT has reviewed and approved the worksite traffic control plan for the proposed closure. Additionally, we have been coordinating with the Traffic Management Committee to minimize any conflict with the adjacent permit holders and ongoing construction activities in the vicinity of the closure. Secret clearance has been obtained. Additionally, the major BOE design approvals have been obtained for the work within this closure. Regarding outreach efforts, Council District 8 has indicated their support of the requested street closure and associated peak hour exemption. In addition, Metro's public relations team has performed outreach for this closure. Lastly, Metro and Walshe staff are here in attendance to answer any questions or concerns you may have, as well as I mentioned earlier, BCA.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Hsu. So I don't know if I have questions as much as I have just a couple of comments. The letter from Phil Washington that is referenced in the recommendations and is attached as transmittal number 5, I just wanted to confirm, well, really just to state on the record that we appreciate Metro's express commitment to addressing any deficient work that results from construction of the project, and stating in the record that they assure that any deficient repair work will be completed before the project's revenue service date, either by the existing contractor or a subsequent cleanup contractor. And we recognize their request for for this closure, and upon their request and the representations in the letter, I'm supportive of moving this closure forward pursuant to their request. So without other questions, that would be my motion. Seconded by Commissioner Cabello and Commissioner Davis. Any objection? Without objection, we will do so. Thank you all for those of you that came in this morning. We appreciate it. No amendments on that. So without objection, we'll adopt agenda item number 16. Any issue sending 16 forthwith? We will send number 16 forthwith. And also to everyone that is here, thank you for the continued progress that's being made on this project. Agenda item numbers 2 through 12. Agenda item numbers 2 through 12 are assessment hearings that are set from various council districts. Mr. Herman has a card in on 2 through 12. Mr. Herman on 2 through 12. Mr. Spindler on 2 through 12. Mr. Spindler on 2 through 12. Ma'am, you're up on 2 through 12.
Good morning. I am Janet Kwan with the Bureau of Street Lighting. Actually, item number 1, I believe.
I'm
is
not calling number 1 yet because we have a
Okay.
speaker on number 1. Go ahead on 2 through 12. Please.
Okay, sorry. Items 2 through 12, 2 through 11 pertains to lighting districts, which we are creating in conjunction with private development projects. And item number 12 pertains to a lighting district, which we are creating in conjunction with Community Development Block Grant project, also known as a CDBG project. Ballots for items number 2 through 12 were mailed on April 25th, 2019, and must be received by the City Clerk's office by next Tuesday, June 11, 2019, date of the council hearing. We have not received any objections to date on items 2 through 12, and we are requesting for the board to adopt and forward items 2 through 12 forthwith to City Council.
Thank you, Ms. Kwan. Colleagues, any questions? Is there a second to my motion to move items 2 through 12? Seconded by Commissioners Garcia and Davis. And without objection, we'll send those forthwith. We're going to go to general public comment now. I think Mr. Sachs, actually, before Mr. Sachs, we have Herman. Is Mr. Herman over here? Herman going once, Herman going twice. Thank you. And now, sorry about that, Mr. Sachs. General public comment. No, we cannot, sir. City Attorney, is he yielding his time?
He's yielding his time.
Oh, he's here. Okay, why don't we get the clock started, and Mr. Sachs, you're up.
He's back. The clock is running.
Thank you. Arnold Sachs. You know, it's funny. I was just wondering, does the Board of Public Works address asbestos in any of the buildings? I was at the County of Los Angeles yesterday, and Hall of Administration, by the way, and I found a notice, asbestos notification, up on the 6th floor where the county attorneys are. But it's not posted for the public to read. That the HOA, the Hall of Administration, or in some terms, could be the Homeowners Association, or Hall of Owners Association, states to Hall of Administration tenants. Tenants at the Hall of Administration. Can you believe that? Who are the tenants? They have asbestos in the tiles and all kinds of other crap, and they're just letting people know. Don't touch the tiles, don't touch this, don't touch that, whatever. But they don't let the public know. So I'm wondering why that's important, because CEQA says we'll do a environmental study after we take the building down, after demolition. Not before demolition, but after demolition. Well, if you were to demolish the Kenneth Hahn Hall of Administration, that would be the owner of the building of the Homeowners Association, before you did a CEQA, then all that asbestos that they notify you in this letter to the tenants would just be released into the air, and nobody would know. How is that possible? Aren't you supposed to look out for the public's better interest? Well,
2 minutes.
not the public's
Thank you, Mr.
better.
Sachs.
Thank you.
All right, let's go to item number 15. Council District 4, contract award, Wilshire Boulevard, Curson Avenue to Cochrane Avenue and Mansfield Avenue to Wilston Place, Vision Zero, STP. Recommending the board declare Elcanor Belco Electric, Inc., doing business as Elcanor, the first lowest bidder to be the lowest responsible bidder, and award Elcanor a contract in the amount of $2,256,913. 2, forward a copy of this report to the affected council district office. And 3, authorizes the president or 2 members of the Board of Public Works to execute the contract for this project upon arrival of all required documents by the city attorney. We have general public comment cards. Mr. Herman. Mr. Herman going once, Mr. Herman going twice. Mr. Spindler. Mr. Spindler going once, Mr. Spindler going twice. And Mr. Sachs, you're up.
Yes, thank you again. Arnold Sachs for the record. This is a Vision Zero plan. So I guess they're going to do work with their eyes closed. I'm not sure what STM and STP stand for, although STP is an oil additive. But there was a couple of items in the last meeting about hauling away the debris, and I heard Mr. James mention something about hauling away the debris for this expo crap. Where does it get hauled to? Where does it get dumped? Does this stuff go to like the Sunshine Canyon landfill because that has open-ended dumping? It'd be interesting to know about that. I guess there's no CEQA involved in this project. This is a job order contract that was awarded. I know the county does job order contracts, and they don't necessarily sustain that you need to have a CEQA report done on job order contracts. So it's interesting, again, goes back to the same situation with asbestos in the building. It could be in the air. You could be breathing it in right now, and you wouldn't know it, just sitting around here. It's very, very strange. But this is the city of Los Angeles, where strangeness and insanity are both normal. Did Reyes Construction enter a bid on this item also, just out of curiosity? And why isn't Metro playing any part of this in Vision Zero? These bike lanes that are going to go in, are these curb parking, those ballards that will restrict parking on the street for the bike lanes? Is that included in any kind of, was there any kind of study, and who did it? It's another question that's left unanswered.
Thank you, Mr. Sachs. Mr. Hovasapian.
Good morning. I'm Shant Hovasapian from Bureau of Street Lighting, and this federally funded project will convert the existing high-voltage street lighting system on Wilshire Boulevard between Curson Avenue and Cochran Avenue and Mansfield and Wilton Place to a low-voltage lighting system by replacing 326 fixtures with LED fixtures and the installation of new conduit and wires. Financing for the project is funded by the Street Lighting Maintenance Assessment Fund, SLAF, via a loan from the Public Works Trust Fund, then later reimbursed by the Federal Highway Administration. We are recommending award of the project to the lowest bidder, Elecnor Belco Electric Incorporated. The bid was received on April 3, 2019. The contractor met the DBE goal of 9% by pledging a DBE of 20.32%. Thank you.
Thank you. Colleagues, any questions? Joined again by the council, by the President James. I'll let him take over from here. We just finished item 15.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Vice President Cabello. Commissioner Davis.
In terms of this particular project, do we have similar projects that will be implemented later in terms of implementing the LED lights in this area? Are we just getting to this area, or could you just give me a little?
No, actually, the LED lighting is all over the city. We're going all over the city, putting LED lights, and there are other projects that will be changing from the series, from the high voltage series to the multiple lights with LEDs.
Okay, so we just happen to have gotten to this area, right?
Yes, yes,
Okay.
this is one of the projects.
I got you, and there is a plan, obviously, that we
Yes.
have in terms of implementing them in different areas.
Yes, we're doing all over the city. Every STM, every high voltage project that we have will change it to low voltage LED lights.
And would you say that we are how much percent complete on our overall goal for this transformation to LED lights?
I think Janet would know better about that, the percentage. We're about.
Are we somewhere 70% through?
About 75% we're,
5%
yes,
through.
of
Okay.
our goal.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions? Commissioner Garcia has made a motion on agenda item number 15. Thank you. And seconded by Commissioner Davis on number 15. Any objection? Without objection, we'll adopt agenda item number 15. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Any issue sending number 15 forthwith? We will send number 15 forthwith. Agenda item number 1, assessment hearing, Council District 5, Nordhoff Street and Wakefield Avenue, Street Lighting Maintenance Assessment District. Council hearing set for June 11th, 2019. Mr. Sachs, you have a card in on number 1.
Yes, thank you again, Arnold Sachs. For the record, Arnold Sachs. Item number 1 actually refers to a public hearing. I don't see anybody here from the public for this public hearing. The other items all are public assessment hearings, excuse me, are those. So do you notify the public that they're having an assessment hearing today, this first hearing, or do you just notify them they're having an assessment hearing in the city council? Because it's assessment hearing. I walked by a hearing notice for zoning. And at the bottom on the list, they had 2 zoning hearings. And at the bottom it said, this is not the only zoning hearing or not the only public hearing to be held on this item. Well, you want to say, well, if it's not the only one, why is the public notified on 2? Because you really only hear about 1. That makes it very difficult if you're in the public. And we just heard about street lighting for Havenhurst being changed from high voltage to low voltage. Will these assessment hearings be regarding low voltage street lighting? And it's really important to have low voltage street lighting, because if you ever come downtown, maybe to go to Mocha or maybe to go to the Disney Hall or one of the Grand Avenue, you'll be able to guide yourself forever, like I said earlier, because the DWP building is lit so brightly that you could actually see it from Uranus. I believe I'm just repeating myself from a different, but you know what? It's been on, light's been on for 3 months that I know of. And you hear all about saving electricity and saving energy and saving the planet. They're doing their best to do what?
2
Build
minutes.
the city. Who pays?
Thank you, Mr. Sachs. Mr. Spindler on number 1. Mr. Spindler on number 1. Mr. Herman on number 1.
It's pretty ironic that I was kicked out of council chambers this morning by Herman Jason Wesson because I was talking about the discussion of funding that the cities intends to receive or give for those council districts that include criminals taking monies. Street lighting is a moneymaker for maintenance in an assessment district because you don't tell the taxpayers that you're going to fuck them in the ass with all these taxes, right? And so the rules of decorum and their enforcement violate First Amendment because they contain provisions which constitute impermissible prior restraints. That's why I'm in here. The restraint was Herman Jason Wesson warned me. Then he lied and warned me over and over and kicked me out of a public meeting when my clock was running. And I had 2 officers, Sergeant of Arms Duarte, approach me at the podium and threaten me to leave. I've been told to leave when the clock was officially on. Why is that? Why is it getting to this point that you have to threaten and intimidate people? You want me cussing and swearing? I just came from the TRO and Patricia H. Cops told me I could say whatever I fucking want. And I could bitch, measure H to the cunts of this city who cocksuck Eric Garcetti day in and day out for street lighting and monies. But why do you do this to people? Why can't you let our opinion be heard? Why do city officials have unbridled discretion to enforce these rules that acts of complaint herein as directed towards intimidating the public speaker, Mr. City Attorney? When the FBI investigates all this, I hope Eric Garcetti goes down with Wesson really bad.
Ms. Kwan on number 1.
Janet Kwan, Bureau of Street Lighting. Item number 1 pertains to the Nordhoff Street and Wakefield Avenue Lighting District, which we are creating in conjunction with a private development project. It's a subdivision of property into 8 single units. And the lighting district consists of 29 parcels for a total annual assessment of $2,394.01. We have not received any objections to date. The ballots were mailed on April 25th, 2019, and must be received by the City Clerk's office by next Tuesday, June 11th, 2019, the date of the council hearing. We are requesting for the board to adopt and forward this item forthwith to City Council.
Okay, Commissioner Garcia on number 1.
Thank you, President James. Can we double check the district? Because I believe this is District 6, not District 5. And I kind of did a little search on Google, and it is in District 6. So we just have to change it on the board
Okay,
report.
we will double check that.
You should know this before we go. Yeah. Can you want to double check? I looked it up, and it is. I saw it. It's in Panorama City. It's in Panorama City.
Can we then,
We
Dr.
just amend it.
Campos, amend it to read Council District
We'll
6
make
for
a
the
note
record?
that it's-
Thank you.
Council
so
District
as
6.
amended, any questions?
No. I
Okay.
move.
Commissioner Garcia has made a motion. I'll second it. Any objection? Without objection, we'll adopt agenda item number 1 as amended. Any issue sending it forthwith? We'll send it forthwith. Thank you, ma'am. Agenda item number 14. We haven't done the fire department yet. Authority to sell one Los Angeles Fire Department apparatus and equipment to the city of Hermosillo, Mexico. Recommending that the board first approve the sale of one LAFD 1996 Seagrave FT triple fire engine at below market value in accordance with the Los Angeles Administrative Code, section 22547 to the city, 22.547 to the city of Hermosillo, Mexico. One moment, sir. We have speaker card on number 14. Mr. Spindler on number 14. Mr. Spindler on number 14. Mr. Herman on number 14. Mr. Herman on number 14.
Sure, you have the right district. Sounds like corruption. Really bad here. I smell corruption, Miss Garcia and Miss Cabello, as you had your private little discussion on item number 1, which you went from Fat Peppa Pig in CD5 to CD6, who's under an FBI investigation, Mommy Nuri. Mommy. So why are we giving wetbacks in Mexico a fire engine when we need fire engines in small communities that need them when there's fires? You don't do any brush clearance. You don't do any debris clearance. And you heard for the record, the LA Times says that this trash that you've allowed to accumulate and bring disease is on our streets daily. But the issue here is whether or not you decide to inform and make us believe the beliefs of these allegations by reason of foregoing. Mr. Davis accused Mr. Spindler of being a terrorist, right, Mr. Davis? Because you wanted to prevent him from speaking on item 14 regarding Mexico. And why did Ms. McAllister bring out her point in council chambers this morning about the wetbacks? Because they say they're entitled. I'm entitled. I'm an American citizen. I'm entitled. You deny me free speech. You censor me. You interrupt me. You make accusations. Patricia H. Copps, the judge of the Moss Courthouse, I hope you're hearing this, because the FBI wants to question why these rats, starting with Kevin James, who ratted out Englander, for all we know, it could be true, it could be not true, but Brandenburg versus Ohio, fuck the Jews.
On number 14, we have Deputy Fire Chief Villanueva. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Good to see you again.
Good morning, Mr. President.
Welcome back.
And commissioners, thank you so much. It's been a while. Well, you stole my thunder. You took the reason why I'm here for the...
Well, you can repeat it. Because it sounds more authoritative coming from you, sir.
Well, thank you so much. Actually, I'm here before all of you for the consideration of the approval of the apparatus mentioned by Mr. President. How this happened was about 10 years ago, there was a tragic fire in Hermosillo, Mexico, where some 49 children perished in a fire. At that point, the Hermosillo Fire Department reached out to us for help. They asked us for training, and since then, we have sent groups of firefighters down there to assist with water systems, fire prevention, construction, extrication, incident command structure, whatever it is that they need, we try to provide to them, and we go once or twice a year. Matter of fact, we'll be going back in August, again with a group of people to help them. They only have 4 fire stations over there. Whenever they have a huge fire, which they just recently had, 2 of their apparatus, mechanical failure, hose ruptures. So it's just it's a sad vision to see what they have over there. And so for us to be able to help them would be just fantastic. And you really need to see it. And if you could see it, you would see that it's just terrible what they have. And just a little bit outside of it, but they have 4 stations, but they have 2 other ones that are outside there, so a total of 6. And it would be like having one in Santa Barbara and one in San Diego. And so for that distance to drive, so when you have a huge fire, they use what we would call brush apparatus that only carry 1 or 200 gallons of water. That's what they use in an initial. So if you have a huge fire, then they come in with a water tanker, and they keep having to repeat that in a shuttle. Where if they have this apparatus with 500 gallons of water, they can put a lot of GPM on it immediately to hopefully save some lives. And that's the reason why I'm here today.
Great, thank you, Chief. Commissioner Cabello and then Commissioner Davis.
Thank you, President James. Chief Villanueva, thank you so much for doing this and initiating this, this sale or this gift, rather, of the apparatus. I think this is a wonderful partnership, and it's a good example of what happens, metaphorically speaking, when we build bridges and not walls. We're able to actually save lives. So thank you, and to the fire department for all you do.
Thank you, Commissioner Cabello. Commissioner Davis.
Yeah, I just wanted to support this particular motion. Certainly it's in response to the City Council motion asking for this support, and want to also underline the fact that we have been doing this program for quite a while, and we have done it in various places from different municipalities, and it shows our good neighbor support. When we look at the manpower, or the fleet rather, that we are allowing others to use, these are equipments that and vehicles that we've used for quite a while. You said it was a 1996 vehicle, and so we would get rid of this vehicle as we move forward to bring in a new fleet. So again, 2 points is that first of all, it shows our good neighbor relationship with other countries, and we've done it for various countries. And secondly, I think it's really critically important for us to do this, because we would not be using the vehicle anyway at this point. So I support this motion because of those reasons.
Thank you, Commissioner Davis. That sounded like a motion by Commissioner Cabello and Commissioner Garcia, seconded by Commissioner Davis. I would recommend a friendly amendment suggested by our Executive Officer and City Attorney, that the word approve be revised to the word recommend. So without objection to the friendly amendment, thank you both. That will be the motion and the second. Any objection? Without objection, that'll be the order. Any issue sending it forthwith? We'll send it forthwith. Thank you, Chief.
May I say a
Of
couple more
course.
things? You actually, you thanked me for this, and I can't be up here without the leadership of Chief Terrazas. Actually, there was more help, not only Chief Terrazas, Chief Everett, who's back in the crowd, and Cheryl Gatwiza and Council Office 15. So there were many hands that were in this endeavor, so I didn't want to leave them out. So.
Thank you, Chief. And you stole a little bit of my thunder. I wanted to give a shout out to my friend Everett back there.
There he is.
Good to see you, sir. Thank you for being here.
Thank you all very much.
All right, thank you. So that'll be the order forthwith on agenda item number 14. Is there a second to my motion that we approve the meeting minutes from the meeting of Friday, April 26, 2019? That'll be by Commissioner Cabello. Any objection? Without objection, that'll be the order on the minutes. Agenda item number 13, I believe we have left as well. Memorandum of Agreement, Council District 11, Administration and Cost Sharing for Implementation of the Dominguez Channel Estuary Bathymetry and Sediment Transport Study, recommending that the Board first approve and forward the report with transmittals to the Mayor for authority to execute the proposed Memorandum of Agreement between the City of Los Angeles and the City of Carson, the City of Long Beach, the City of Torrance, the California Department of Transportation, Los Angeles County Flood Control District, and the County of Los Angeles regarding the administration and cost sharing for the implementation of the Dominguez Channel Estuary Bathymetry and Sediment Transport Study. Secondly, request the Mayor to authorize LA Sanitation and Environment Director and the President or two Commissioners of the Board of Public Works to execute the agreement. Third, notify Sanitation Watershed Protection Division when the MOA is ready to be executed by the Board, whereupon 16 original documents will be delivered to the Secretary of the Board for execution. And fourth, upon execution, request the City Clerk to attest and certify the 16 original copies of the MOA. The City Clerk and the Board are to each retain an original copy, and the remaining original copies are to be returned to Sanitation Watershed Protection Division. Mr. Spindler on number 13, Mr. Spindler on number 13, Mr. Herman on number 13. You're up. number 13.
CD11, the road diet, Mr. Bonin, who for some pathetic way, as a pathetic councilman, dislikes, but I'll use the right term, hates homeless individuals. He hasn't helped me. I've been coming here for how many years? No one's helped me with HHH. Where's Mr. Bonin? Maybe let's talk about the right of free speech, the right of assembly, and the right of due process with malice, oppression, with the intention thereby depriving Armando Herman, the legal constitutional right, otherwise causing injury, Mr. City Attorney. Because you find that the pathometry sediment transport study for transportation niggers offends you. Fuck transportation niggers. I'm one. Does that violate First, Fifth, Fourth Amendments and Article Section 2 of the California Constitution, Mr. City Attorney? Do you want to weigh in? Do you want to talk about regarding enforcement of unconstitutional rules of decorum, Mr. City Attorney? Ask him, Mr. Campos, because he doesn't want to answer me. Ask him, Kevin. You brought the FBI here. You allowed Jose Huizar to kick me out thousands of times from plum meetings when I'm fighting for HHH. You're not going to approve that, huh? Or disapprove it, right? Because you're all a part of the game players, like Mr. Davis, who said Mr. Wayne Spindler needs a TRO because he's a criminal. He's a racist. Where's the TRO now, Mr. Davis? Disarm a lawyer who defends the rights of individuals who seek an immigration lawyer. Wait until
2
ICE
minutes.
and the federal government steps into this picture.
Mr. Sachs, you are on number 13.
Yes, thank you again, Arnold Sachs, for the record. Arnold Sachs, for the record. Let me see. Oh, Arnold Sachs, for the record. So I was just interested in the difference between a memorandum of agreement and a memorandum of understanding. I know what a memorandum, but then there's a, what was it? Temporary memorandum of, there was a, I can't, something to do with the field, AEG in the field. And a study, oh, and by the way, that pesky word "and" shows its nose again. You know, I was a victim of the word "and." We can get into that. But the Dominguez Channel, you know, in most of America and most of the world, where rivers and streams run unabated, part of the reason is so they can replenish the aquifer. Because when you replenish the aquifer, well, you have water you can draw on. But in LA, where they concrete the river and all these streams, you can't get the aquifer replenished. So you continuously need to get water from other areas because your local aquifer has no water because it's all been drawn down for whatever purposes. Do you actually believe that that's in the best interest of the public? And then you have the Department of Sanitation, which is now the Department of Sanitation and Environment. And you have the Watershed Protection Agency, which is part of the Environmental Agency. I hope you're getting this down, Mr. Herman, because this is really good for your $100 fees that you're going to collect for the Brown Act violations. And by the way, it's not HHH that you're fighting for. Well, it could be, because he's the wrestler. It's Measure HHH, which is the city ordinance that was passed. They didn't pass HHH
2 minutes.
unless it was in traffic.
Thank you, Mr. Sachs. Mr. Yu, welcome, sir.
Thank you. Good morning. I'm Charlie Yu from Watershed Protection, OESN. Domingo Channel is polluted water body identified by the EPA and regional board. Also, there's a TMDL issued on this water body. And sanitation will co-work with other 6 agencies to conduct special study and to guide the water improvement project. And The purpose of this MOA is to fund this special study to comply with the MS4 permit. And LA County will be the lead agency to administer this special study. And city will share the cost with other 6 public agencies. And the cost for the city is $62,940. The period for this study is about 2 years. I'm ready to answer questions.
I don't have any questions. There are lots of governmental agencies on this one, and these are, we do these every now and again. So we appreciate your work and sanitation's leadership on it. I'll make a motion that we adopt agenda item number 13, seconded by Commissioner Cabello. Any objection? Without objection, we'll adopt agenda item number 13. Thank you, sir. Any issue sending 13 forthwith? We will send it number 13 forthwith. Dr. Campos, have we cleared the voting items for this morning?
Yes, you have.
Okay, agenda item number 17, an update oral report on construction orders issued. And Mr. Herman, you have a card in. Well, first of all, Mr. Spindler on number 17. Mr. Spindler on number 17. Mr. Herman on number 17.
Is the oral reports on 17 for the record? Is this the oral reports 17 for the record? There's really nothing on her except policy number 793, all bureaus. Well, I believe, if I'm right, that the bureaus have prevented Armando Herman, Wayne Spindler, from exercising our right to free speech, right of assembly, and right of due process with malice and oppression, in which they have intention to depriving us the construction orders issued because it relates to the budget and monies. The same monies that Herman, Jason, Wesson stole. The same monies Eric Garcetti stole. The same monies that the FBI is investigating in corruption, abuse of the fucking Catholic Church from Salesian Bishop Amant, who was money laundering on behalf of Jose Luis Huizar and his fat cunt wife. So, violations of 1st, 5th, 4th, Article Section 2 of the California Constitution regarding enforcement of unconstitutional rules. Fuck you. 42 U.S.C. Save my remaining balance of 34 seconds.
Mr. Tolles on number 17. Looks like the first quarter of 2019. That you're going to talk about. Go ahead.
Sure. Good morning. My name is Ryan Tolles from the Bureau of Engineering Wastewater Conveyance Construction Division. I'm here to present the construction order report for the period of January 1st, 2019 to March 31st of 2019. On November 20th of 2018, the Board of Public Works adopted supplemental to proposed policy number 793. This adoption required a quarterly aggregate listing of change orders, addenda, and task orders issued under the City Engineers Authority of $150,000. Although not required in the supplemental policy, the report before you includes a list of construction services contracts managed by the Bureau of Engineering and provides the work order, title, and issuance date for each construction order issued within the quarter. Next to certain work orders, you'll find an asterisk, which denotes construction orders issued between $150,000 and $500,000. These construction orders were for emergency storm drain and or sewer repairs issued under the City Engineers Authority of $500,000, which was granted by the Board of Public Works on November of 2006. This quarter, construction orders were only issued under the emergency storm drain and sewer repair contract. A total of 18 construction orders were issued for storm drain work, totaling $888,000, and 183 construction orders were issued for sewer work, totaling $8,823,000 within the quarter. So I'm here to answer any questions.
Any questions on any of these? Is this, Ryan, is this kind of the pace in which these will close each quarter? we have this many ongoing?
This just shows the items that are in this report are not necessarily closed. They were just, the work was issued within the period. So between January and,
So let me rephrase that.
Yeah.
Same question.
Sure.
Is this kind of the number of construction orders that we would issue typically in a quarter?
yes, for these two programs, the storm drain and sewer programs, we typically issue about this amount regularly on a quarterly basis.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. That helps us understand the scope of what you guys are doing.
Sure.
Appreciate it. Any other questions? Oral report will be received. Dr. Campos, have we closed? Thank you, Mr. Tolles. Have we cleared the desk?
Yes, you have.
We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone. We took general public comment. You were not in the room, sir. Other speakers spoke. Your name was called. We're adjourned.